Ridgid's 6-mode high torque impact wrench. Is it for you? We'll find out when we get back. I'm Tim Johnson. You're watching Shop Tool Reviews. This is the Ridgid R86211 high torque octane impact wrench. Now, since it is an octane tool, it will take advantage of the octane battery. So you'll always get the most performance if you have an octane tool when you pair it with an octane battery. Now, they're claiming 1,500 foot-pounds of nut-busting torque and 1,100 foot-pounds of fastening torque. You get a hog ring style 1/2-inch anvil, so your sockets are going to pretty easily go on there, as well as be retained without any push-button detent or anything like that. You also get a double LED down here on the bottom. This is going to shine light up on the fastener area for you. And you get a variable speed trigger here that in forward or reverse, you can control that speed as to how fast you want that to go. Now, there's also the auto mode on here as well as the speed mode. Now, let's go ahead and go over to our test bench and actually look at those in more detail, and we'll come back and wrap this up. As I mentioned, this is the Ridgid R86211, and it's their octane high torque impact wrench. I think max output fastening is supposed to be like 1,100 foot-pounds, and nut busting or removal torque is supposed to be like 1,500 foot-pounds. So pretty impressive. One thing they tout is the 6 modes that it has, and you can see right here on the base of the tool, you can easily cycle through these, and it may be a little confusing at first, but it's really not. So basically, you have an auto button and you have a speed button. And basically, if you use the speed button, you'll see here when I select it, that right now it's on auto. If I hit the speed button once more, now it illuminates the speed button and it tells me speed 3. So in other words, that's kind of max power. Fastening and removal is going to be, max power at 3. And then 2 is going to be, say, half, and 1 even less. But basically, that's just kind of power modes. There's no, there's no extra actions being taken or anything like that. Now, if you use the auto side, what that does is now it starts to taking into account bolt removal speed, tightening torque, things like that. So if I go into auto, I can go into auto 1, auto 2, auto 3. And kind of just like speed, obviously 3 is going to be your most powerful and 1 even less. But what it's going to do, it's actually going to stop tightening, as well as when it's backing off, it's going to stop going fast, if you will. So what that's going to do is enable you to keep from, say, slinging a lug nut across the shop, something like that. So that's what the auto mode is going to do for you, as well as not over tighten. So if you are, say, doing lug nuts or, head bolts, something like that, something you need to come back with a torque wrench, you can use that auto mode, and I'll show you here really quickly. So first, let's go ahead and make sure that these nuts are backed off here. So what we'll do, we'll show some of these modes, and then we'll come back and we'll actually do some torque testing, and we'll test it with our torque wrench, as well as torque a bunch of these down and then see how well we do at breaking those free. So let's first just back these off. There we go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into auto and mode 1. So auto mode 1, so I've got the auto illuminated, and then I've got one, now that the light's off, I can show you here. So you can see I'm in auto mode 1 here, and you'll see I'm going to go into tighten. So this nut's backed off just a little ways, and I'm just going to hold the trigger down. And you see it hits just a second and stops, and my finger's still on the trigger. Okay, I'll do this next one as well. Finger is still on the trigger, so it automatically stopped that once it sensed that it was tightening. Now if I go into mode 2 in the auto, it's going to tighten it just a little bit more before it stops. Hey, if you don't mind, let me break in here real quick. We're giving one of these away. Not just the impact wrench, but also a battery, 6 amp hour battery, and a charger. All you have to do is sign up, but you got to do it before the 15th at midnight. You can also have multiple chances to win. So hurry, sign up, follow the link in the description. Also, if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button, and that bell notification is going to let you know when new videos are available. Back to the video. You see, it hammered on it for just a few seconds more, and then it stopped, and my finger's still depressed on the trigger there. I'll do one more on speed or auto 2. Again, my finger is still on the trigger, but yet it stopped that socket, or stopped the nut from turning. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to leave it in mode 2 here, and I'm going to back it off in that auto mode. And you see it backed off a few turns and then stopped. My finger's still on the trigger here. Same thing here. Finger's still on the trigger, but it stopped that before the nut came off. Okay, that's a situation where it actually didn't stop that. Do it here. That's another one. So in a sense, that's one thing I've noticed in the auto mode on the bolt removal. If it's not impacting a lot before it speeds up, it really won't stop that nut. So you still kind of got to, you know, be careful, if you will. But the auto mode does work if it's tightened a lot. And watch, I'll show you right here. Okay, so now we've got some impacts on it. Now I'm going to go into reverse. And so if it impacts a few times, then it will definitely sense when it's speeding up and it needs to stop. But if you barely got it tight, and I'll show you here as well. So I barely got that snug. Now if I go into reverse, see, it doesn't want to stop it. So again, just something to look at when you are using that auto mode and you're looking at it to engage when you're backing off. If that nut's not tight, or that lug nut's not tight, or that bolt or whatever you're taking off, if it doesn't have some force that it has to back off, then it will go ahead and, you know, it's not going to stop on you, and it's going to back that all the way off. So that's your auto, and then 3 is going to be just even more so. So it's just going to impact longer. I'll show you here. So it just impacts a little bit longer. Again, my finger's still on the trigger. So that's what the auto mode 1, 2, and 3 is going to do. I don't know exactly, you know, how many foot-pounds of force that's doing. I'm sure it's not exact anyway, but what we'll do is in a moment here, we'll actually check that out and see on speed, you know, on auto mode 1, auto mode 2, and auto mode 3, we'll see how much force it's actually applying to that nut in each one of those modes, and we'll find out from our torque wrench how much it's actually applying. Okay, now what I want to do is I'm going to take my torque gun here. This is not an impact wrench, this is a torque gun. And as you can see here, I've got it set on 500 foot-pounds, and I'm going to tighten each one of these to 500 foot-pounds, and then I'm going to back it off with the torque wrench. Let me get these snug on here. One more here. All right, so now I've got each one of these torqued to 500 foot-pounds. Now this should be no challenge for this, especially we'll put it in speed 3. So we got a speed and 3, and should be able to zip these off pretty quickly without a lot of effort. Just wanted to make sure. No problem there. Problem there. Okay, no problem at all at 500 foot-pounds, which I didn't figure that it would. I'm going to go ahead and take this up to 700 foot-pounds. Not sure if my bolts will take it. They are typically rated for right at about 500 foot-pounds. These are 7/8 inch bolts, but we'll go ahead and try it out and see if they won't take 700. Okay, I've got it at 700 now, and Okay, that's quite a bit of bolt stretch there, by the way. Okay, so that's two. See if we can't get those off of there. Okay, I think we ruined our nuts and bolts. Okay, I think taking those to 700 foot-pounds actually ruined my nuts and bolts, but the Ridgid definitely was able to take those off with no problem at all. Even though those threads are stripped now. My weld's actually broke on this when it's spinning on the backside. But let's do something else. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to come back and we're going to use that auto mode 1, 2, and 3. So we'll figure out in each one of those auto modes how much force it's applying. Okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into auto mode and I'm going to go to 1. So we're in auto 1. And remember now, these two bolts are now ruined. Not ruined. That's my southern coming out, sorry. Anyway, these two bolts are now no longer any good. So we're going to start here, and I'm going to do 5 of these in the auto mode 1, just holding the trigger down and seeing how tight they get. Let me back these off a touch. Okay. So now I'm just going to hold the trigger down and see how tight they get. And then we'll measure with our torque wrench what type of force it takes to take them off. So again, auto mode 1. Just hold it till it stops. Use our torque wrench here. It's set at 250, but it should give us a max reading here. .8. .58.2. .55.3. .49.4. And 65.6. So just remember, in our torque testing, we know that taking something off doesn't take as much force as putting it on. So that removal force does not equate to what it took to tighten that. In fact, it's typically kind of a divide by 0.8, and that's what we'll do to get our actual tightening figures here. But let's go ahead and do auto mode 2 and auto mode 3 and see how they do as well. So again, I'm going to go into auto 2. And let me back these off again. Okay, here we go. Hold it till it stops. So I held all of them till they stop on their own. And let's see what we get. 171.9. .202.3. 189.4. $176.5. And 174.2. Okay, so this is a 250-pound torque wrench. I'm not sure. I bet in auto mode 3 it's probably going to be higher than we can read. But let's go ahead and try it. And again, I'll back these off here. We'll go to auto mode 3 now. So again, did all 5 of those, held the trigger down until it stopped before I released. And so let's see if we can read how much torque it takes to take those off. I have a feeling it's going to be over 250. Yeah, so this is saying 302.8. And just so you know, it's not calibrated for that, so we could be off on these high figures here. 343.6. $293.8. $230.3. That was a low one. And 262.7. Now that we broke 2 bolts on our test rig, we're going to have to get those fixed. We use that all the time, and we'll do so. Anyway, back to the auto mode. So in auto mode 1, we got 42.8, 58.2, 55.3, 49.4, and 65.6. Now, that's what it took the torque wrench to break free what we tightened with the impact wrench. So we use a factor, we divide by 0.8, which is just kind of a good round number that we've tested before. In fact, I'll explain it here in this other video, in this Torque Explained video, where we get to that factor. So typically between 0.75 and 0.8 as a dividing factor, we can back into our fastening torque, how tight we got it on there. So anyway, so that gives us basically an average of 67.8 foot-pounds on auto mode 1. Auto mode 2, we came out to an average of 228.6 foot-pounds of fastening torque. And then on auto mode 3, 358.8. I wouldn't trust so much that auto mode 3 because, like I mentioned, our torque wrench is only calibrated to 250 foot-pounds. So it was giving us a reading, but that just gives you an idea. Also, on these auto modes, I would not trust them for torquing, if you will. Now, what I do like about the auto mode 1 is I would feel comfortable of using that to say, once I got, all the lug nuts snug, that I could kind of, use that feature, if you will, to wait till it stopped, and then I could come back with my torque wrench and finish tightening those. But again, I'm not going to take it as gospel. It just gives you a good kind of round number, if you will, of the 68 foot-pounds or 67.8 on mode 1, 228.6 on mode 2, and 358.8 on mode 3. I've given you an idea of what it's tightening to before it quits. Now, as far as the impact wrench itself, you can buy this for $229 for the bare tool. The interesting thing was I really didn't find it paired with a battery. In fact, the only ones I did find it paired with a battery, they're not in stock anymore. So I'm assuming Ridgid's not offering this in a kit, which seems a little odd to me, but if you're already on the Ridgid platform, you already have their batteries, you can get the tool for $229. I bet you can probably get these on sale and get them somewhere in the $200 range. Now at that, whether it's $229 or say $200, $210, that's still quite a bit lower than other impact wrenches in this class. So that's a good buy. Also, when you look at Ridgid's lifetime warranty and any of the Home Depots, that's not a bad deal at all. So I would definitely recommend you checking it out, especially if you're on the Ridgid platform. Again, it's the R86211 high torque impact. Puts out a ton of force. Exactly how much, we don't know as far as maximum. I mean, it's going to zip off any light car or light duty truck, any of their lug nuts, as well as break any engine fasteners loose. Now, when you get into high diesel stuff or bigger diesel stuff, again, you may need to step up to a bigger impact wrench, obviously. But for any light duty stuff, this should be able to handle it all, except that Honda crankshaft bolt, but nobody expects that. Anyway, so check it out. Also keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button if you like this video. Have a great day and keep smiling.